Jones-Decamara, Jason Jones, great to be with you. 97.5, The Fanatic on this Monday night as, we continue to digest everything that has happened and look ahead to the NFL free agency period officially opening up tomorrow at 4 o'clock and some wild developments that we'll talk about tonight. You can join us on the phones at 610-632-0975. And Jason, it was a flurry of activity this weekend. Now, most of this to this point is not yet truly most of it is pending. Most of it is not yet inked.
Starts tomorrow.
Starts tomorrow at 4. Great to have you in studio, man.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it for having me. It's been a good day. A little better weather today here in Philly. Still a little cold, but it's not California weather like I'm used to. But it's all right. So it's a good Philly day for March, but I like it.
And we're trying to figure out if it's going to be a good Philly decade, the rest of the decade with Chip Kelly. We're trying to figure out exactly what's going to happen here for these next couple of years, and it all starts with what happens in the next couple of days. Because really, Chip is trying to shape a roster not just for 2015, but for over the horizon, trying to compete and try to win a Super Bowl. Here we are, a couple of days after the free agency period opened as it pertains to teams being able to talk to players, but not yet sign players from other teams. Here's what we know is the situation. Byron Maxwell is slated to sign an enormous deal worth potentially as much as $60 million with the Eagles. He comes in from Seattle. Jeremy Maclin out the door to Kansas City. Significant move. Frank Gore initially looked like he was coming to Philly. Now we're hearing speculation Frank Gore might not be coming to Philly. So that's a mess. Brandon Graham re-signing with the Eagles. That's official because the Eagles have announced it. And Mark Sanchez re-signing with the Eagles. And there's some of just the many moves. Still a lot to be determined. But there's some of the highlight moves. And Jason, as we sit here on this Monday night, your thoughts on how things have transpired so far?
It's been a roller coaster. It's been a roller coaster ride. Everybody's going back and forth. Everybody was kind of upset about the shady deal and, what we got out of that. And Kiko Alonso, he may be a good player, but, the effect he's going to have coming off of an injury. But to lose Maclin like that, to dump Harriman's, it just kind of made a lot of people question, what that culture is and who fits that culture. You've seen a guy like Deshaun Jackson, outspoken, kind of flashy, but what kind of guy is Chip Kelly looking for? Because to me, Jeremy Maclin seemed the opposite. He seemed pretty quiet. I've met him at, some of the soul workouts and working with Jaws, and he seemed like, a down-to-earth guy. And obviously he just didn't fit what Chip Kelly wanted. I don't see how, 1,300 yards and, some top-end speed can't fit into your system. But obviously, they know something that we don't. And
there's been a lot of speculation today on the station. The phone lines have been jammed on that. I mean, to me, that I don't think that Jeremy Maclin didn't fit what Chip wanted. I actually don't believe that at all, and I don't think the Eagles would have offered him a pretty sizable contract if they thought that. I view it as a financial decision where they made a determination, a value judgment, that Jeremy Maclin at $11 million is too much money.
At the end of the day, it's still a business.
Yeah.
The game of football is a business, so that's the bottom line for anything. Your talent, if you can find equivalent or close enough talent at lesser money, I still think Shady's one of the top 2 or 3 running backs in the league. There's no question.
He's a great player.
But if you can get a DeMarco Murray or a Frank Gore at half the price, then you're going to take it. That's like buying those generic brand cereal. If you can get it for half the price, then that's what you're going to take.
And see, and the way I view it is, and the thing I keep coming back to, it's imperative that Chip spend all the money. Because that's what justifies moving on from some guys for lesser talented and lesser priced guys. Now, at the end of the day, when all the musical chairs stop, if there's $15 million left, I'm going to say, well, why the heck isn't Jeremy Maclin on the team?
I agree.
Why isn't LaShawn McCoy on the team? But if he takes that money and uses the resource to put it, for instance, into defense or other offensive players, I think it's a pretty reasonable way to go.
I agree. But, I mean, there's some things that, even with McCoy, you look at the running back class, it's kind of deep coming in. Even the free agent running backs that were available, a guy like Gore, still on the fence. We'll find out by 4:05 tomorrow afternoon. But, there's some guys that can replace those positions. In free agency at receiver, you don't really see that guy. Dez is pretty much locked up. Demarius, those guys are off the board. Crabtree and some guys with Maclin speed just don't come around. They just don't fall off the trees. And with their top draft pick, hopefully going to a guy like Mariota, is not going to be one of those receivers that are coming out this year. So it's going to be interesting to see, what happens, first of all, that comes tomorrow, and then what happens come draft day.
Well, it is a concern because there's a lot less talent on the offense right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even close. Now,
defense is definitely strengthened.
Well, it is. Yeah, I mean, it goes both ways. But I would say this. I view, and look, Chip, I tend to think Chip believes he can take lesser offensive talent and make something decent enough with the system.
Yeah.
Now, maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. I think to this point it's been proven that he can help. Look, let's take two players. Let's take Deshaun Jackson first off. Okay, 5-year sample of Deshaun Jackson before Chip Kelly arrived. An average of 54 catches, 957 yards, and 4.5 touchdowns a season. Deshaun Jackson in his one season under Chip Kelly, 82 catches, 1,332 yards, 9 TDs. I see that, and my brain shows me Chip sitting there in the deep inner bowels of the NovaCare Center saying, I got that with Deshaun. I can take someone else up a couple notches.
I agree. I mean, we look at it all the time. We sit at NFL Films with Ron Jaworski. We watch the tape. Chip gets people open. They get people open. And even that year with Deshaun, you can call it the Deshaun effect or whatever. Riley Cooper was a player. He may not have been a number 1 or a number 2, but that first year under Chip, Riley Cooper was a decent receiver. He made some plays, and that's a guy that everybody still looks at even now like, is he really worth it? Is he a number 1 or number 2? No. Does he have speed? No, but the offense gets people open. Brent Selleck and Ertz and those tight ends, those sets, guys can get open. In that position, you can simulate, plug and play. Yep. You can be the culture. He just needs his quarterback. That's how I believe.
Well, okay, so let's just go back to the receiver for a moment. We'll get to the QB. Because at the end of the day, though, he does still need players. Like, yes, he can upgrade below average and make them closer to average. He can take average and make them a little bit above average. He can take a little bit above average, make them good. And maybe he can even take good and make them great. Maybe. But you do need some players. Yeah. And right now, they have no wide receivers to start outside. 0. Unless Jordan Matthews has moved outside, and there's no indication yet that's going to happen, Riley Cooper don't count. As of right now, the Eagles have 0 starting wide receivers. Doesn't mean they're going to have 0 starting wide receivers September 10th.
You don't like Matthews as a starter?
Not outside. Let me ask you this. If Matthews should be starting outside, why didn't he start over Riley Cooper last year?
I think that was a matchup thing. I think having him in the slot against your nickel DB, that's a better matchup for them instead of going against a starting quarter and you put Riley Cooper in your nickel and that's not going to work. Yep. I think that's still a better matchup. But at the end of the day, I think he has the talent and the ability to go do it.
He's got a shot.
Yeah, he does.
I don't want to sell him short, but it seemed like they were grooming him to stay inside. That's the impression I get.
That's true. But I mean, you got to have somebody that people fear. You look at those scouting reports. You come in on Monday and Tuesday, and this guy, you sit down, you look at the NFC East. You're going to deal with Dez twice a year. You're going to deal with Deshaun twice a year. You're going to deal with Odell Beckham and Victor Cruz twice a year. So there's some guys that you're going to have to deal with. When you come to Philly, now it's kind of like, you got to deal with the tempo, maybe, the pace, the whole offense and the culture, the spread and the reads, and it's just no guy. Jeremy Maclin was a guy. Deshaun Jackson was a guy that people respected and feared. Now you just don't have that. It's just going to put more pressure on Chip and his offense and his play call. It's really going to put.
Well, it does. No, it's a great point. And you guys can join us at 610-632-0975. It clearly also puts more pressure now on whoever the quarterback is.
Yes.
I think it's pretty clear it's going to be one of two people. I think. It's going to be Nick Foles. It's going to be Marcus Mariota.
Super Mario.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think there's a third guy in the race.
I mean, I'm hearing some rumors about a guy named Kaepernick, being available possibly. There's some rumors floating around, but, like I said, the moves that they're making, it just seems like, take Sal's thing. It's all or nothing right now.
Right. What do you make of the Mariota situation?
I just didn't get the Shady McCoy, just not going after draft picks for him. I could see, if you trade him for a second round pick or something like that, that would make sense that they would make a move. It's still kind of under wraps. It's still, unknown. Yep. That's something they're keeping, Area 51 top secret. They don't want anybody to know what they're doing under there, what they're planning until that number comes up on April 30th on the draft day. But it's still unknown. I think they had a shot with Shady. I thought that he was definitely a piece that they could have used with a guy like Mariota at quarterback and the plethora of running backs from both free agency and coming out in the draft. Yeah, you could have put another guy in there to get you 1,400 next to Mariota.
Look, I mean, it's part of the story. It's just the Mariota thing is so complex for so many different reasons. One of which is the Eagles don't control their own destiny here. They don't have the first pick. They got the 20th pick.
That's true.
Makes it hard to move up. There's also the rather unbelievably daunting fact that anyone picking above the Eagles, that the Eagles say, hey, ring, 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 we want to call you up. It's not a secret what Chip's trying to do here.
Got them by the throat. They definitely.
If it's supposed to be, for instance, 3 1s and 2 2s, if I'm that team, I'm saying,
4.
hey, Chip, it's 4 and 3.
See draft day. It's a progressive name your price tool. Name your price.
Well put. I mean, the Eagles are not in an advantageous position with this one.
I agree. And like I said, to lose players, you talk about, guys like Fletcher Cox and D'Amico that they could have threw in to sweeten the deal. You kind of want to keep your defense intact. And where it's looking right now, it's looking good. The offensive pieces that they had, they kind of let go, the 2 biggest chips, They let Macklin go and they let Shady go. And now maybe Foles, he could definitely be a piece. I mean, if you're going to go get Mariota.
Foles should be.
He's definitely got to be.
To me, it makes no sense for Foles not to be.
He's definitely got to be. He's got to be in that part of that bargain. He's not a backup quarterback. The guy can play.
So let's draw a line here. Jason Jones' line of what's the appropriate amount of value to give up for Mariota and what's too much. Now, let me say this before you answer this. We don't know, is it for the first pick, for the 5th pick, 6th pick, right? Washington at 5, the Jets at 6. At 10 is St. Louis, right?
Yes, sir.
So we don't quite know where it's going to be. But forget that for a second. What's too much? What's the right amount?
Too much? Honestly, if that's your guy, there is no too much.
Well, 10 number 1 draft picks is too much.
If he's going to be your guy for 10 years, then that's what it is. But
no, it's not.
At the end of the day,
because he's not Peyton Manning and he's not Andrew Luck. He's not.
True. But like I said, at the end of the day, if Chip believes that that's the best way to get it done, if you're going to make, I spent some time over in Italy and my son's over there, and sometimes she tells me to make the best pasta you need the best ingredients. And that's one of the ingredients that he needs to fully get the full flavor of what he can do in his offense. Then that's the guy he's got to go with. And at that rate, obviously you're going to put Foles in it. You're going to put in a couple of draft picks. If you feel like you can get by with, average talent around him, then sell it. Obviously, we haven't even heard about the draft coming up for next year. Coming out of last year's draft, you heard the Winston, the Mariota talk, the Amari Cooper and Todd Gurley, and all these guys, his names were out there in their junior year and the preceding year before they came out. Next year's draft is kind of dormant, kind of quiet. You haven't really heard any big names already. So honestly, me personally, thinking about a number 1 for next year, I'm already thinking ahead, like, well, who would that be? If you plan on having the season that the Eagles are having, is it going to be, a pick in the 20s? It's not going to be a top 5 pick. Moving up from, 20 to 1, I think that's really irrelevant. The guy the Eagles want. So whether you move up, I really don't think you really have to move up to 1. I think Tampa's going to stay.
Yeah, probably. 1 is the only thing they can guarantee.
Exactly. It'll guarantee, but I don't think anybody else is going to reach that high.
Tennessee, though, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But like I said, he doesn't project well to many other systems right now.
That's true.
Right now, when we talk to Jaws,
it's like a game of chicken.
Exactly. So if he doesn't project well to the system you want to run, are you going to bring Chip Kelly's system to Tampa and to St. Louis? Are you going to run stuff like that? Then you might want to save that pick. Then you might want to. It might be valuable for you to trade down and pick up some picks and plug some pieces that you can get, or get some guys that maybe there's some good guys in the Eagles rosters that they can pick up. Like I said, it's name your price at that point. And I agree with it. I feel it.
Jason Jones, Jones-Decamara, great to be with you here tonight on The Fanatic. Again, you can join the show, 610-632-0975. We'll take some phone calls next. Keep it here. Jones-Decamara, Jason Jones, talking Eagles. Free agency starts tomorrow at 4 o'clock right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.